It seems as if I'm attracting some enlightened trolls from some of my videos. They say that what I say, that what I teach, is just wrong. But they think they are awakened, but they see a difference from themselves and others, so they think that they are someone enlightened, walking in a world full of people that are asleep. And I want to use this as an opportunity to talk about exactly that. Because, enlightenment is a very noble word for something that's very simple. It's just when you realize that whatever you are is just one with the world. So everywhere you go, you only see the eternal spirit, or God, or call it whatever you want. And one of those comments said that enlightenment means being in the now and having an empty mind. That's not true. Mind can think, but there's no one that the thinking is happening to. When you think that you are someone in the world that can attain enlightenment or lose it or expand your consciousness or shrink your consciousness even, and someone is very deeply asleep, but someone else like Eckhart Tolle has the biggest consciousness, that's your ego talking. When you are truly, how should I put that? When there's no sense of self, because you don't identify yourself with the mind chatter anymore, because you know that you are the consciousness in which everything happens, and what happens within the consciousness is also you, then there's no difference between you and the one talking in this video right now. It is when all becomes one and merges. We're talking about non-duality here. So when you are really awake, when you wake up, the whole existence wakes up at the same time. So you cannot become a teacher saying, all of my students are deeply asleep and I have to wake them up. You simply share it because of joy. Because everywhere you look and go, and everything you look at, it's just God. Moving in front of your eyes, everything is alive. There's nothing in between you and it that makes you feel like I am a little weak person in a hostile world. That was a perfect opportunity for me to talk about this, to warn you, to just make you aware of that. There's no stage in awakening you can attain so your consciousness can become bigger than someone else's consciousness. There's only one consciousness. So when you are awake, you cannot hate on anybody unless you want to hate on yourself. But on a relative level, people can only give what they are. From a personal level. Just like a bottle of wine can only give you wine, but some sour milk can only give you sour milk. So let's talk about what awakening is to me. It's completely true to say that being in the now and having an empty mind can be very good to start off with. But there are people who have sudden enlightenment. And something like that happened to me So I was not meditating or something. I wasn't particularly in the present moment. But there was just this merging of everything becoming one. And I'm talking about that. If you listen to Rupert Spira, he also says that separating yourself from what you're not, which to me basically sounds like becoming present. It's not exactly the same, but becoming present is like the first part. But to realize that even if your thoughts are thinking about the future, you don't identify with them. You know that you are the consciousness, and the thoughts are happening in the consciousness. And even if the thoughts tell you something or are just saying something about the future, you are still present. So there is no chance for you to not be present, basically. Now let's talk about how to get to the state, how to recognize yourself as consciousness. You see, the ego always wants to have a technique. And I understand that. Really, I understand that. Because when I had my first awakening, it feels like it was covered up by the ego again, and I felt like I lost it. So I was looking for a technique. I didn't find any technique. All I could do was meditate, but it didn't work. Because I thought that, having an empty mind means I'm closer to enlightenment. And when I had a thinking mind, a neurotic mind, I didn't have, I was just so far away from enlightenment. So there's no real technique. And someone was like asking me what to do to deepen this inner, experience of enlightenment or unity or non-duality or whatever you want to call it. And I said, you have to look at it like this. Let's say enlightenment is H2O. And you think enlightenment is being water because being water feels meditative. It's just a metaphor. But when you turn into ice and you have a lot of thoughts and stress, or the body at least experiences those things, you think you've lost your enlightenment, but you're still H2O. And that's what it's about. You are just simply recognizing that the one having stress is happening inside of you. There seems to be kind of a technique to experience this. It's when your mind gets still. So still that there is almost no thought. It becomes very easy to recognize the space in between the thoughts. And you are that space. And when a thought emerges, it may feel like it's you that is emerging between space, but it's the not you emerging inside of you. That's just the first part of recognition. You recognize that you are the silence, you are this eternal, everlasting space. But then also, what does the form that appears in space consist of? It's also you. But when I say you, I'm not talking about the personal you. I'm talking about the infinite one. The fastest way to find out who you are is really to ask, who am I? Because when you say, okay, I'm talking about my I, then you can only come up with stories you have experienced or qualities of the body, of the character. But you'll find you should talk about those things. You should talk about the I, and you'll find out that you won't find it. You won't find that I. You will sooner or later come to the conclusion that there is no I. You cannot find it. It's because it is you. And it doesn't have quality, and it's not in the brain. There's only one I. And you cannot find it. No one has ever found it. And when you start to disidentify with the stories, the personal stories, and you start to identify with this universal one I, it becomes pretty easy to see God everywhere. And just so you know, on the absolute level, that's healing. That's recognition. That's the recognition that all of your traumas in your body do not belong to you, because you are not the one having those traumas. But still, ego has now consciousness is having this experience now through your eyes, and you are experiencing this personal ego self. If you want to heal your trauma and you feel uncomfortable in your body, and awakening doesn't take that away from you, that's perfectly normal, because non-duality doesn't take trauma away from you. Non-duality simply shows you that you are not it. And because there is no duality, that means that the sensation, the feeling of having an uncomfortable bodily sensation called trauma is also part of it. Just want to make you aware of that, because I thought that becoming awake would just free me up and everything would be so just perfect. And it kind of it did. It became very comfortable thing, because I wasn't identifying with the body again, and 95% of the bodily pain just fell away. But there, you can still do some work on the relative level. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. I think that's it for today. If you have some questions, please write a comment, like the video, and I wish you have a great day.